Hey, my friend, and welcome in. We're so glad to have you with us. It is a kind of hot and humid August day here in Prescott, Arizona. Humidity's 85%, which is absolutely my least favorite weather of all time. But inside here, the climate is perfect. The setting is right for an awesome weekend with you. We are Heights Church. We're out in Prescott, Arizona. My name's Owen. I'm one of the pastors here at Heights, and you have found the Heights Online Weekend Countdown. I'm looking in the chat right now. Folks are starting to pile in, and I invite you to join us in the chat as well. Take this thing up a notch from just watching to joining in. Say hello to folks in the chat like Lori TK. She's in the chat as always. Lori, good morning to you. We got Elkie in the chat. Diana is here as well. We got Studio, all the usual suspects, and we're waiting for you to join in too. Just in case you're wondering who we are and what we're up to, we're a church out in Prescott, Arizona. That's spelled like Prescott, but it's Prescott. That's how we know you're from here if you say it like Prescott. And we are all about helping you live the life you were created for in Jesus. And we're about to get our weekend services underway from our Prescott location right here. So if you are local, if you're in the Quad Cities area, you still have plenty of time to join us. Prescott location is near the airport out off of 89A, so just jump in and join us. You can also join us at our Prescott Valley location. It's at the Fabulous Park Collective, and it is at 10:30 this morning as well. Either way, if you're in Quad Cities area, we invite you just to come in person and hang out with us. But no matter where you are or what your schedule is, of course, you can stick right here online with us too, because we will get you some extra bonus conversation, have some fun, chat a little bit, and then get us into our services live here starting at 10:30 Arizona time. More folks jumping in the chat. There's Peggy. Peggy's here to take prayer requests from you. You can drop those in the chat at any time. She grabs those. Diana's here as well. She's here to kind of greet and say hello, make you feel at home. So go ahead, don't be shy. Jump in the chat. I got two people that I want you to meet today. The second person is someone you have met before. The first person I'm about to invite in is someone you've probably seen. If you've been here with us for any length of time online, you recognize his face, but you may not know his name. And so we're going to get to know him a little bit better. So right now, in the chat, I want you to go find the emoji toolbar, okay? And look for some kind of musical emoji, because we're about to welcome in part of our worship team. His name is Austin Coyne, and here he is, Mr. Austin Coyne. Give him a hand. Here he is. Producer Nick didn't want to put his phone down to give a clap. He kind of gave a forearm clap. There it is. He kind of did one of these like, hey.
Thanks for nothing, dude. What the heck?
Awesome. By the way, thanks to Nick, who's producing for us today with our David, our usual producer, out of town. So thanks, Nick.
He's doing really well.
He's like,
he knows
don't talk
exactly
about
what he's
me.
doing.
Don't. Usually there's a camera that's like the producer cam, and he strategically didn't set that up.
He's smart.
He's out
There's
here.
a microphone right here if you want.
Yeah, do you want to jump in, Nick? Say hi?
All right.
No, Nick's a no dog, no dog. But Austin, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, so welcome to Heights Online.
Thanks.
How does it feel?
Feels good. Feels
good?
Feels exactly how I kind of thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah.
Not worse?
No.
Not better?
About the same.
About the same.
About the same.
This is how you envision it going down.
I'm pretty neutral as for anything in life, so I don't expect too much. I don't expect under. It's kind of just yeah.
Are you like Enneagram? You ever do any of that Enneagram?
Yes.
Like what's your
I'm a
Enneagram?
9.
Okay, so you're just keeping it.
Yeah. If someone's
Nice
up
and
here,
steady.
I try to bring them down to keep it level with everybody. You know, make sure not one person's in the spotlight too much.
Okay.
Just trying to.
So you're here to bring
I'm
me
the
down a little bit? You're here to calm.
exactly.
I actually kind of felt as soon as you sat down, it felt more chill. I was
Just
like,
more chill.
okay.
That's why I'm here,
calm.
bro. So I'm here for you.
Thanks, Cole. Appreciate you, buddy. Okay, so, dude, you've been around Heights forever. A lot of folks definitely would recognize you, seen you as part of the worship team.
Mm-hmm.
You're a multi-instrument guy.
Yeah.
So what instrument are you on today? What's your plan? Do you drums? Guitar?
I've got the drum hat on today.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a drummer today. The summer's been. We've had a little bit of a lack of drummers. I guess I'm on this camera.
Yeah. You can just talk to them or talk to me or talk to Nick.
It's too hard.
It's just
I
all
don't know where
kinda
to look.
The same thing.
Yeah. There's been kind of a lack of drummers this year.
What's the drummer shortage all about?
I don't know. our one of our drummers, Jaron, had a cool opportunity. I think somewhere across the U.S. I want to say North Carolina.
It was
random
Purdue.
guess.
Didn't he go to
Oh,
Purdue?
yeah.
Indiana? Isn't that in Indiana, Purdue?
I think so. Something. Nick?
Nick's fact checking right now.
He's
Hold on.
fact checking.
It is. I think it's Indiana, Purdue. Boilermakers. That's their
their
mascot.
mascot?
No, true story.
What the heck?
Fact
So,
check me, chat. I think that's the mascot, the
That's,
Boilermakers.
that's
They
where
make
he
boils.
was this
That's
summer,
not
but
right.
he's back.
Indiana. Fact check.
Nice, Ellen. Nice. So he's back. So we got one more drummer back.
Okay.
So you'll see me on guitar occasionally, hopefully.
What other instruments do you play?
Bass guitar.
Wait, I did not.
Yeah, I played a few times back a few years
Okay.
ago on stage.
Okay. You're getting some.
have-
You're getting some music emojis in the
Oh,
chat,
thanks,
by the way.
guys. Thanks, Peggy.
Musical notes.
Thanks, Diana.
Getting a microphone.
I love it.
Nice work, guys.
I'm not much of a singer, so don't ask me to do that.
That's the no. That's
the no-no. Yeah.
But bass.
I could sing bass, yeah. I could do that. But yeah,
Okay.
bass guitar.
Bass guitar.
I have a
Electric.
mandolin that
Okay.
that hasn't seen the light of day
Did we
yet,
break
but
that
I do
out?
have one. No,
Is that
not
new?
yet. It is. It was as of Christmas, which I guess was a
Okay.
while ago.
Is it an electric? We can plug it in.
No.
Okay.
So I have to mic it up. But
Okay.
maybe if we can convince Zach and Kaylee to do a bluegrass weekend, pull it back to Justin Unger days. That
Okay. You're
I'm
kind of.
sure a lot of the folks at this church would
Yes.
appreciate that. a
You
lot.
are. You're kind of speaking my language. I'm just gonna say. I mean, as you know, I play a wide variety of pretty useless musical instruments.
Yeah.
And so I keep applying for the worship team. And Zach keeps telling me, hey, if you would go learn a real instrument, you could probably be on the worship team. My electric kazoo
Yes.
was a no.
Oh.
My
would love
banjitar was a no. It's like a guitar that's made like a banjo, so it sounds like a banjo.
Yeah.
You play it like a guitar.
A 6-string?
It's a 6-string. That was a no. So I want you to bring the mandolin into this.
Yeah, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you out a little bit.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna push for the bluegrass weekend.
is
whether
there
they
like
like
a
it or not.
bluegrass side of you? Like, is this a thing?
Not really. I've never practiced that per
Okay.
se, but I'm open to the idea.
Okay.
And I love the mandolin, and I think it sounds awesome, and I think needs more of that in worship music.
I love that. I love that. What's
Maybe
your
someday.
so what would be like some musical inspiration for you, like bands and stuff? Is it like Mumford and Sons, kind of like that stuff, or folk?
I do like
folky?
folk music. I don't listen to a ton of folk music. A lot of early 2000s alternative, Strokes,
Okay.
bands like that. I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I listened to the Red Hot Chili Peppers a lot when I started playing bass
Okay.
and guitar. So lots of funk influence.
Yeah.
But then growing up in contemporary Christian music, it kind of melded with that. So now I kind of do a little bit of everything.
Was it like a Five Iron Frenzy, like that kind of, or is that like a not leaning into the ska side of things?
A little bit of ska. Yeah, that'd be fun. Ska's cool.
Okay.
But, I don't know.
No. All right.
Punk's fun.
Okay.
I really like it all.
Okay.
So it's kind of fun to bring those influences into my drumming and into
pretty awesome.
slight, just a little bit.
Yeah. No.
And Jordan Rowan, who was our tech, what were we doing? Tech guy, our tech
Yeah,
producer,
tech director.
a few years ago,
Yeah.
was heavily influenced by punk drummers, Travis Barker of Blink-182.
Okay.
So that's where a lot of my drumming came
Okay,
from. After
you just
watching
inherited
Jordan
that?
I inherited that. Kept it with the church,
Yeah.
Kept it here for everybody.
That's pretty awesome. What'd you say your favorite instrument to play? I mean, you're an awesome drummer, so you're getting drum emojis in the
look at
chat.
Rick.
Rick out
knows
here with
what's up.
some.
Flea rocks. Yeah, he does. Thanks, Rick. Favorite instrument? I really love the drums. I think drums. For me, drums I can be most worshipful because I don't have to think about it too much. I'm a musician that doesn't really know what he's doing most of the time. So on drums, I really don't have to think about it. I can just kind of do it. When I'm on guitar, if you guys see me playing guitar on a
You're really
Sunday,
concentrating.
I'm really concentrating. I tell people that I'm driving a car with my hands and driving a boat with my feet.
Yeah.
Because
You got
at my
pedals,
feet.
and you're not really like
and I
totally
don't know
comfortable.
what I'm doing, so
Yeah, so you're kind of like locked into like, hey, I need to just hit the next note.
yes, exactly.
You're not
That's
like
exactly.
you're
If I
not
can hit the
stepping
one-
out of the
if I can
moment
hit
and
the
enjoying.
one, we're all good.
Yeah.
If I can hit the right chord on the one.
But when you're drumming, it's like you can kind of like step back and like the crowd, the moment, the lyrics.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
very,
pretty cool.
Very cool.
What's that like? I gotta ask you because that's something. I mean, like, almost everyone, like, really, I mean, even if you don't have musical ability, like, you definitely, admire somebody who, can, like, express, like, their heart, heart to God through music. For you, like, what's that like? Because a lot of people don't even know. They imagine what it would be like to get to not have to use words to express like that. Yourself, like, to God, and your heart, your emotions. I mean, that's kind of a deep question, but I mean, what's that like for you?
I'm not sure. I grew up at a Christian youth camp in town, United Christian Youth Camp.
Okay.
And seeing the worship every week, hundreds, thousands of kids a summer, coming through this place and getting to see all the kids worshiping through that. And that's where I found Jesus. That's when I decided to get baptized, was in 6th grade or something during a worship set.
Yeah.
It just broke me down, So to be able to do that for people is a really special thing. I credit it all to God, because I sit there and people ask me, how do you do that? How do your ears hear that and know what to do? My mom's like, how do you know where you're going next? Basically. Yeah. I couldn't explain it. It's beyond me, and the only reasonable explanation for that is God. So
that's
it's
cool.
A really cool thing to be able to do.
That's a cool way to express that. You just kind of feel God kind of like working through you.
Yeah.
In a way. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, you mentioned Jesus, so in napkin sketch version, what's your life with Jesus like? How did that get started?
My parents, I was basically born into the church, so I've always known Christianity. Like I said, I grew up at United Christian Youth Camp, moved there when I was 2, I believe. So basically getting to grow up and run around on dirt roads and being a kid at this youth camp was pretty amazing. And I think I credit a lot of my faith journey to that, and just being able to see constantly, Jesus moving through all these, elementary school kids and middle school kids. It was always really awesome. And then started here when I think we started at Heights when I was in 5th grade. So I think it was 2010 maybe.
Okay.
And then I started working here in 2015 doing tech and playing drums. And so I've never had to fight with it much, which I don't love that. I think everybody should go through a little bit of a fight.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit, just to not necessarily question things, but learn why we believe what we do.
And kind of take ownership for it. Like,
exactly.
Feel like, hey, this belongs to me.
Exactly.
It's not just something I've been told about.
So, I don't know. I count myself lucky as someone that hasn't gone through hell necessarily yet, but
yeah.
My hands are open. So, if things go down, then I'm ready to lean into God. So.
Yeah. It's funny, I think all of us have this feeling of, like, whatever our walk with Jesus is like, we wonder what it would be like on the other side of it. Like someone like you, where it's like, church, Jesus, like, faith has been a part of your life, like, since you can really remember. Mm-hmm. Like, you wonder, man, what would it be like if I had this, like, like, moment where, like, Jesus broke through and, like, everything changed. And and then there's the other side of it. I talk to people all the time that are like, they find Jesus a little bit later in life, and they're like, man, I wish I didn't have all this, like, junk that I carry with me, or experiences that I, faced, or things that I did I wish that weren't part of my story. And so I think this is kind of how we all are. It's like, however we are, we always wish it were a little different,
always something different, but it's cool that we are so different, like, it shows us that sometimes we do have it good and sometimes we have it bad, but there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Plenty of cool stories in the faith, so it's very cool.
To go back to being shallow for a second, we're getting some votes for that Bluegrass Festival. Just want to put that.
Oh, okay. We've
it went from worship set. No, I don't think you get to have one bluegrass worship set. I think it's like you got to do a whole.
I got to do it all.
Thing.
Well,
so we're getting some votes for that.
I have to invite my friend Keenan Hammock, who is a ridiculous bluegrass musician.
Yeah.
I was just talking to him right before this, so
let's do it.
I'm sure he'll be down.
Park Collective?
Oh yeah.
Would you be?
Totally.
I mean, I'm not even kidding. We could do a whole bluegrass.
We will do that.
Okay, I gotta ask, because I have a couple of friends that are probably not at that level, but they're deep into bluegrass, like, music, and they're like, one of their big things is like, hey, if there's drums involved, this is not bluegrass.
Yeah.
So and yet you're a drummer. And yet you have this bluegrass side of you. Like, where do you fall on that whole thing?
Well, I don't know. I think a little splash of maybe a snare drum or a washboard, you know,
some kind of rhythm.
Yeah, a little something. I think it has its place, but when I think of bluegrass, I do think of a guitar, a mandolin, maybe a stand-up bass guitar, you know. But there's different flavors.
A little fiddle in the mix.
Yeah, a little fiddle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I don't know what instrument I'd be playing in that situation, honestly.
Maybe mandolin, fiddle,
maybe
washboard.
Mandolin. Washboard would be fun.
Little
maybe
rhythm.
spoons.
Little. I mean, I think that I see that.
Yeah.
All right. Look. Thanks to the chat. Here we go. We're making plans for that Bluegrass Festival at Park Collective someday. That would be amazing. And then Justin in the chat going, he wants an improv song right now on the spot.
Oh gosh, we don't have any instruments. And I told you I can't sing, Justin. So
yeah, sorry, Justin. I'll tell you what, Justin. Though, because you've said that, wow, I'm gonna work on. After we have our bonus content after the service. I'm going to work on seeing if I can get our communicator today in on a little impromptu music moment.
Whoa.
I don't know. Do you think he's ready for that with John?
Maybe.
He's up for it.
He might be up for it.
I don't know. Let's find out. So just stick around. I'm going to see if I can make it work out. Okay, I'll get you out of here on just one last question. Let's look ahead to our worship set today. And I don't want you don't have to. We talked before. He's like, if you ask me about the worship set, I'm going to forget every song.
I'm going to forget
every
song, and I am forgetting. But so, let me do it because I think.
Okay, you can do this.
Maybe. Okay. There's nothing that our God can't do. Okay. I don't know who sings that. I'm really bad. Sorry.
Okay.
Waymaker.
Yep.
And Who You Say I Am.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
That's what we got.
I'm actually pulling up the Heights app right now because, guys, I don't know if you know this, but on the Heights app right here, this is what it looks like today. And if you jump in here, there's Heights Weekly right here. Okay. And that you can actually get to the worship set from there and a bunch of other stuff too. So just let you know. Okay. What in the worship set today, a favorite moment for you where you're like,
for me personally, Waymaker's really good today. I think it's really gonna be very impactful. It was really impactful this last service, and I think it really is. So let's say building into that last big chorus will be really fun.
Sending it.
It's gonna be really good.
Love it. Well, I gotta let you go because it's about time for you to go get yourself queued up, ready to go.
Got to go get warmed up.
Yes.
Do some jumping jacks.
What's your pre-game routine like?
My pre-game routine is usually I wish I had sticks with me, but I will take them and I will flip them like this, get kind of stretched out, and then I'll also rotate it like this, get my arms kind of,
just get loose,
get a little loose, So if you see me doing that on stage, don't freak out. Nothing bad's happening.
That's like not a weird.
I'm not trying to break my arms before I play. I'm just trying to get a little stretched out, get a little ready. So,
okay, there we go. Well, we're gonna see you in about 14 minutes from right now.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Alan.
Dude, seriously, you're awesome.
Fun.
We appreciate you a bunch, and thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
I hope it was not any worse or better than you thought it would be.
It was perfect. It was actually better.
Better.
So there you go.
See, there we go. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, dude. Guys, give Justin a drum emoji in the chat, and support him when you see him up here in a few minutes as we get worship going. And thanks, dude, for joining.
Thanks, Owen.
Let you go.
Have a good one.
There he goes, everybody. Austin Coyne, away he goes. It was not as bad as he thought, so that's always feels good. Apparently we've set the bar very low for people coming online. No, just reset for you. I got one more person to jump in here in just a second, but first, in case you're joining us, just want to reset for you. We're about 10:16. We're 14 minutes away from the start of our weekend services here from our Prescott location. We called this space Heights Online Weekend Countdown as we get ready for the start of those services. My name's Owen. I'm one of the pastors here for Heights. I'm here to welcome you in and interact with you as we just be social, have fun, get to know some of the people that make up the Heights family. The hope is always for us as a church that we will help you live the life you are created for in Jesus. And that includes community. We feel like having people in your life that love you, love Jesus is a huge part of it. So that's kind of what online is all about. We're just here to connect and meet some people. Speaking of connect, we're here to connect with you as well. you can just go to Heights Online, kind of home on our website. Go to heightschurch.com, tap Heights Online, and then when you're there, you can do things like have a give us a prayer request you'd like prayer for. You can download the Heights app, like I showed you just a few minutes ago. You can even jump in and join our online serve team, like folks right now in the chat, like Peggy, Lori, Diana, who are here in the chat and serve with us to make this a great space for you. So all that's available to you at heightschurch.com. And most of all, we just want to connect with you. So we're here for friendship. Send us an email, connect with us on social, and all that. Okay, so with that, speaking of community, actually, come on in, man. I got to introduce you to another friend.
Giving you the rabbit ears up here.
Perfect. That's it.
Is that a good intro?
You did it. Nailed it. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. That's textbook entry
I've been
into the
taking
online.
classes.
Just like, yeah, perfect.
Been in the training. Hey, everybody.
Hey, you guys recognize Ben if you've been around for a little bit of while. Ben once in a while jumps in and even hosts this thing.
Yeah. Occasionally they call on me for that when the first 3 people turn them down.
No. I always get emails like, "Hey, can that Ben guy do it more? Can you be gone more often?
I
Let
know
that Ben guy do
you're
it."
buttering me up for something. You're saying that.
No, that's actually really true. You did. Remember you and Bob did it one time. And
Yeah,
you
it
got
was like
lots of
my first
lots of
weekend, and Bob decided to buy matching shirts, which
You guys were
I
so
wish
cute.
I wouldn't have done.
That's cute.
Because then for like 6 months, I was Bob 2.0, and I was Bob's twin, and so
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, here's your chance to kind of like shape this up to something. You get out of the Bob's twin mode and into like your own person.
Yeah.
We'll learn a little bit more. So, okay, people that don't know you though, who are you? You're one of our pastors.
Yeah.
What's your deal?
Yeah, so my title is groups pastor. So all things community, all things groups. My goal is to help get people connected so they can grow relationally and spiritually together, which is how we believe God designed it.
Yeah.
Hard to see your blind spots. So you need people to help point those out and encourage and teach and train and sometimes rebuke when necessary.
Yeah.
And you can't do that by yourself.
It's kind of a missing ingredient, right? I mean, for a lot of like folks like that are kind of around church or kind of like, hey, I go on weekends or I'm here online. I love the music. I like to read the Bible, which is of course great.
Yeah.
But there's like
all
a missing ingredient with like you need community. You need people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to be authentic and to fight for authenticity, you have to have people that know your vulnerabilities, your sin issues, someone that, and we kind of talked about it today a little bit, which I won't ruin it because they haven't seen it yet.
No.
But
don't tell the secret.
there's a side you see, and then there's an internal side that everyone has with struggles in their life, and that's what going through community with people is all about, is being able to talk about those things in like a safe environment where you can get honest and open with people.
Yeah. We got a life group signups coming up in next week. Talk about that in a second. But first, I mean, for you personally, like your story, I mean, I know that you're not just talking about the need for a community, like theoretically, this has been something that's been a big part of your own journey with Jesus and finding health. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I'm a fairly new believer. I got saved 9 years ago. And through that journey, I'll back up a little more. I got saved 9 years ago after about a 20-year drug addiction, 20 years of living in self. Totally blinded to God. And He found me 9 years ago and took my ignorance away and my blindness and opened my eyes. And from those 9 years, He has constantly put people in my life that have helped shaped it. And I believe those relationships were ordained. It says He placed you in a time and location specifically for you.
Yeah.
And
right.
I believe that. And I believe that about Prescott, and I believe that about certain men in my life.
Yeah.
So, the amount of people will vary depending on your personality.
Yep. Right. Some of us are extroverts.
Yeah.
It's like we got lots of people.
In a lot of ways. But for
Yes.
me, I got 3 guys in my life that know exactly what's going on with me. I mean, what I said to my wife the day before or what I shouldn't have said, thoughts, sin struggles. And so I got 3 core guys. I mean, we're also in a life group that's super helpful. But I have to have that. I need that for my walk.
A lot of people would see that and honestly kind of envy that. Like, man, you got people like that, at that level where they know you know them. It's past the superficial into like the real conversation. But that doesn't just happen overnight, right? I mean, what's that path like? Someone that's like, hey, I'm here, they're online with us. What would that path be like to start having relationships like that from your point of view?
So there's several avenues, but I would say the one that casts the widest net is life groups. That hits men's, women's, couples, singles, young adults, all ages. And it's within that I think you can find the best representation of the early church, meeting throughout the week, digging into God's Word and growing in fellowship. And it's we say life is better together, but it is not easier. I mean, personalities mix, insecurities, the uncomfortableness of a new group and new people. But we have sign-ups next week, and we think that's the best avenue to grow and discuss and to build an inner working community that really knows what's happening in your life.
Yeah, beautiful.
All
right, I want to talk about how what would be a next step to get into those life groups in a second. First, saying hi to some folks in the chat. One of them is Dennis, who's out there, part of we call it our Paulden campus. So what's up, Dennis? He's saying good morning. And Dennis, I mean, I think, to me, in a lot of ways, they're the perfect example of what you're talking about. In case you don't know, we always talk about Paulden campus like it's some kind of official thing. And honestly, it's a group of people that have community together. They get together, they join us online. During the week, they're interacting with each other as neighbors. And so they're an example of a group how you can find that friendship and community, and it kind of becomes a thing.
Mike and Sue.
That's right.
I got to talk to them for a little bit during new leader training Thursday.
Oh yeah.
Awesome people. What's up, Mike and Sue? We're hopefully me and Piper will get to go out there and join their life group and be a part of their Tuesday night. I don't know if they call it a life group. It's just a Paulden location.
It's just Paulden location.
It's just being together with community and trying to grow. So they invited us out there for that, and hopefully we'll make it out there soon and get to share our story and testimony.
Everybody's pretty great except Dennis. So I'm just kidding.
Dennis, type something mean.
I'm sorry, Dennis. I'm just kidding. Dennis is awesome. I'm kidding. I gotta watch this. People are like, All right, other people in the chat saying hi real quick, and then let's talk how to step into a life group.
Okay.
All right, so we got Salome in the chat. Hey, great to have you with us, Salome. We got Loretta here in the chat jumping in as well. So just say hi. Be sure to say hi. Let us know where you're joining us from today. And just want to point out to you, you may be a person where Sunday, the space we're in right now, maybe schedule and all that doesn't work out for you to be in a church setting. Or honestly, and I've been in this season myself personally where you're I don't know if I'm ready to be around a bunch of church people on a weekend. Get it. So a life group could be really kind of a way for you to step in and get to meet some people and start slow. Get to know some people that love Jesus, get to know them, let them know you, and then see where it goes. It's a big weekend next weekend because the life group sign-ups. It doesn't happen all that often, and so this is the time to jump in. So can you just walk us through what's life group sign up like? How could somebody jump in and say yes to joining a life group right now?
Absolutely. So we have a few different ways you can do that. You can come to either the Prescott Valley location or the Prescott location and sign up. We'll have a table presence in the lobby. We'll be under the Ramada at Prescott, and we'll be in the lobby in PV. And we'll have people that will walk you through that. You can read bios on the leaders. You can see day, time, and location of the group. And you can kind of get a sense for what would be the best fit for you. You can also go on the app or the website under upcoming events. And then you can also filter and navigate. We have about 100 life groups. We have 20.
Wait, 100?
About 1,300 people. We had our biggest sign up ever with 19 groups this session.
That's awesome.
So the groups are there, and there's really easy ways to navigate that, even if you're not around staff. We have a filter that will help you pick city or day or stage of life that you're looking for.
And with 100 groups, I mean, they're like, we're talking like Dewey, Humboldt, Prescott Valley, Chino, like
Paulden.
There's groups, Paulden. See, there's pockets of people all over. There's going to be groups near you, and there's going to be groups for different ages, stages of life, schedule, all that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, we got one thing, I just remember this. We got something kind of new popping up on Thursday nights in Prescott Valley at Park Collective, which is kind of like a combination of kids and life groups, and groups kind of teaming up. So when you go to sign up, if you're a person with kids, you got you're not, dude, you in that stage right now too.
Yeah.
It's
catching up.
That's why you're about falling asleep right now. But if you've got kids, we have some groups popping up at Park Collective in PV on Thursday nights, and you can join those groups and then actually have a place to put your kiddos. Ages birth through 5 right now, and probably some youth that's going to pop in there too.
Yeah.
But you can literally put your kiddos in there. They're going to get discipled and loved and cared for, and then you get some adult conversation, which is it's a rare thing.
It's huge. We one of the things that stops groups from forming is no child care. They just can't manage it, or people maybe the house doesn't hold it well, or it's definitely too distracting if they're a part of the group. But to be able to offer this Thursday night has already been able to bless a handful of existing groups.
Awesome.
And we're hoping to add new groups that we don't want anything to stop anybody.
Yeah.
So if we can provide something that will let people meet, like let's make it happen.
All right, so I'm thinking after today's message especially, it could be on your heart, hey, I need to join a life group. So next week, that's the time, and they do fill up quick. We got lots of groups, but they always fill up quick. So I'm not joking. Put an alert like on your phone. Remind yourself to jump in Saturday, Sunday next week. Get in those life groups.
Yeah, and don't feel too stressed by it. It's a 10-week commitment. Our goal is that you would make it a life group for years, but all we ask is for a 10-week commitment so you can get comfortable and used to the group. And if it's not a good fit, you can step back. And we can try again.
There you go. All right, with that, we're about to bounce into H1 for our start of our services. So turn up the music. Stick around for bonus content after with John. Can't wait to talk about what happens inside H1. But for now, thanks for joining us, and we're going inside.
Bye, y'all.
Well, good morning, everybody. How we doing today? Doing well? Awesome. Well, my name is Zach. I'm the worship pastor here. We're just glad that you're with us. If you would, come on and stand. We're in a new series called The Dark Side of the Moon, and we'll find out in just a moment what that's all about. But in the meantime, we're just going to declare that we believe and we trust that God is a miracle-working God. Amen? Sing just one word. Just one word. You calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word. The darkness has to retreat. Just one touch. I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes were open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Just one word, just one word. You heal what's broken inside me. Just one word, and you revive every dream. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes were open to nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that he can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall he can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Yeah. Walls are coming down. Yes, we believe. Sing, I will believe. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like his power. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that he can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Yeah, there's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall he can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Yeah. Sing, I will believe for greater things. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Church, with one voice, let's declare that we trust him, that we love him. Amen.
Church family, you can go ahead and have a seat this morning. As you do so, I would love to welcome in all locations this morning. That includes our Prescott Valley location. I can hear you cheering from here, and also Paulden location and everybody on the online location. Welcome to you. Welcome to those of you in the room. You're probably wondering, wait a minute, I came for worship and we're done? I know that's what you're thinking, like, hey, wait, this doesn't normally happen. Why are you here? Well, we're going to mix things up today. So here's what I believe that's happening today, is that I think we need to get our hearts ready for worship today. I think sometimes we come in the room and we're ready right out the gate. And I think sometimes God needs to do some stuff in us to be ready to respond in worship. And today's one of those days that we're praying, I'm believing for, that all over every location, what's going to happen is that as we journey together this morning, God's just going to unearth in you some stuff. I really believe that this morning. And so welcome. If you're here on any location and you're like, man, I'm new to this, I don't even know what this is. Some of you right now are like, I don't even know how to find a seat without worship going on. Welcome. By the way, if you have seats and you can love the one you're with, if you could do I almost called it a butt scoot boogie. That's probably not appropriate for church. But if you could just make sure that we're maximizing seats, that'd be great. But along with that, I just want to make sure that you know you are welcome here. So if Heights is home, welcome. We love you. We love journeying together. If this is new for you and you're like, I'm not sure about this, I'm here because of something happened in my life, or I'm here simply because I just and checking out this church thing, and welcome to you. And we just want you to know we love you a bunch right out the gate. Now, if you are here and you heard Zach right up top, you saw us last week, you know that we are heading into a series called The Dark Side of the Moon. Can I give you a full disclaimer? I did not know it was a Pink Floyd album, okay? But all in all, it's just another brick in the wall, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, true story. I did not know. All I knew was the album by the cover. It's so iconic that I was like, oh, I didn't know that's what that album was called. So there you go. So if you came last week and you're like, oh, they're doing Dark Side of the Moon, no way, Pink Floyd, you're going to be super disappointed because there is no Pink Floyd. So there you go. But we are going to talk about the Dark Side of the Moon. This series is a little different. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a little different. Normally when we start a series, we'll have our anchor verse and we'll unpack that, and we'll unpack the big idea around the moon, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But we're probably not going to unpack our anchor verse until like week 4, because we got some stuff we got to go through. And today, we're going to journey through some stuff. By the end of it, hopefully it makes sense. And next week, those of you that remember Brad Streeter, Pastor Brad, who used to lead worship, he's going to be here next week, and we're going to talk about his story, which I'm just so excited for. And so those of you that don't know Brad, you'll fall in love with him quickly. And then the next week, we have some other stuff planned that leads us further into this whole series. And then week 4, we'll get to unpacking what is our theme verse. And today, I want you to think this way, that today's about invitation. That today's about invitation for you with God. And what I mean by this is our anchor verse is found in Psalm 139, and we're just going to take the first part of it of, search me, O God, and know my heart. That today is about the invitation from you to let God into that premise of, God, I need you to search me. God, I want you to know my heart. And as we unpack this further over the weeks to come, it's this idea that your heart is the center point of who you are. And what you're doing is going, God, I want to invite you into that space. I want to invite you into that place. I need you to know something before we get anywhere today. I need you to know that you are not in this room by chance today. You're not in this room by chance. I believe with everything I've got, you may be like, man, I stumbled in here. God knows that you were going to stumble into here. You may be here and you're in the same seat you've been in for the last decade because it's your seat. Y'all know who you are. Just saying. But God knew you would be in that seat today. And I just need you to know something right out top, that I'm believing with everything I've got that God has something for you today. Okay? God has something for you. And I'll take the pressure off of those of you that came with somebody. You don't got to be the Holy Spirit for them. Meaning you don't got to nudge them when you're like, oh, that was for you. We're going to trust that the Holy Spirit nudges them today, okay? We're going to have a little more trust that God's got this. But I believe that every single one of you in this room across different locations, God's got something for you today. And I believe as we go through this series, if you'll let him, he's got some beautiful work. I believe it's going to transform our church. And I know that's big, lofty goals and whatever, but I really do believe that God has some amazing work to do in us. And so we're going to start with a familiar story in Luke chapter 8. If you have a Bible or a screen, you can turn to it. But in Luke chapter 8, there's a context we're going to dive into. And the context is Jesus has had a long day. Okay, so Jesus has been on a boat, and that boat, there was a storm, and all he's trying to do is take a nap, and they wake him up, and they're panicked, and as only Jesus can, he gets up and he calms the storm. And then when he gets to where they were going in the boat, the other side of the lake, when he gets there, a madman comes out, and he's demon-possessed, and what happens is Jesus essentially takes the demons and puts them in a bunch of pigs. The pigs run off a cliff, and then there's a whole bunch of farmers that are mad at Jesus, but the man is healed, and so the man's like, take me with you, don't leave me with the angry people, and Jesus is like, no, you got to stay, I got to go. And so Jesus gets in a boat, and he goes back across to the other side of the lake. And when he gets to the other side is where we're going to pick up verse 40. Now when Jesus returned, a crowd welcomed him, for they were all expecting him. A crowd welcomes Jesus. They've heard about this Jesus. They know he's changing lives. I would couple it with that you're sat in a crowd this morning, right? And some of you, maybe you chose this church and you chose this crowd because you're able to come in and sneak in one door and sneak out the other door and nobody ever saw you other than Jesus, right? And that's the way you want it. But the reality is you're in a crowd. And so instantly we have a context that we can relate to going, hey, there's a crowd and they're gathering around this Jesus for a reason. And as the story continues, then it says, then a man named Jairus, a synagogue leader, came and fell at Jesus' feet, pleading with him to come to his house because his only daughter, a girl of about 12, was dying. And so if you're been around church much or the Bible much, you probably heard this story, but today we got to build the context and the picture. You got to feel this story. Because in this context, you got a dad who is coming and his desperation to get to Jesus is, my only daughter is dying. And so the desperation, the expectancy is, I'm going to push through this crowd, which we were having a conversation this week. Pastor Owen in our teaching prep said, I wonder, because he was a synagogue leader, I wonder if the crowd parted easily for him or if they made way for him because he was a man of status. We don't know for sure, but we know that it was easy for him to get in the presence of Jesus at his feet and request, plead with Jesus, would you come heal my daughter? Imagine the desperation. Your child is dying and you're going, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that Jesus knows. I'm going to do whatever I can. And what he's essentially saying in this moment is, remember, he's a synagogue leader. He's saying everything that I have from the church side, from the knowledge side, from the religion side can't help this moment with my daughter. I need Jesus. And so he pushes his way through the crowd. I love what it says next. It says, that he was there, about 12, was dying as Jesus was on his way. I just need you to catch one thing real quick. This is kind of like a side stop in our journey together. If you ever ask Jesus for something, you need to know he's moving toward you. Not only does he see you, he has actively been pursuing you for all of your history. And he's not stopping. And I love that this man comes and requests, and the very next thing we get is as Jesus is on his way, as he's moving towards, as he's fulfilling requests. And so Jesus is moving, and the crowds almost crushed him. Okay, catch again. We got to feel what's happening, right? So this man comes, he's in desperation. He's probably got tears. He's pleading with Jesus. Jesus is now on his way. And what happens is the crowd becomes so much that they are pressing into Jesus, that they are almost crushing him. I don't know if you've ever been in a crowd like that. It reminds me of growing up in England. We used to go to soccer games, right? And back then, the soccer games, they didn't have seats in the stadium. They had what they called terraces. And so the terraces was you just stood on them. And so they just kept letting people in, and they let people in, and they let people in. And so you were packed. Literally, I can remember as a boy being in one stadium and a fire broke out because it was a wood stadium, broke out underneath, but you were in a crowd, and literally you just went where the crowd went, right? You're not picking, I prefer to go to that exit. Like the crowd is moving, you are moving with it. You are packed in so tightly. I remember being in the same crowd, and a goal was scored, and everybody just pushes forward. It didn't matter if you were at row 15, you ended up at row 5, right? You just went with it because the crowd was moving you along, right? The crowd is moving, and that's the image we're given with Jesus. Have you ever been on a subway, whether in London, New York, especially if you travel to like India, like when you get on that subway, you are packed, and when they decide to leave, you leave with them because you're just going, right? That's the idea of this, that Jesus is on his way, and the crowd is so tight that they're almost crushing him. And they're being moved by him. That's the imagery that's given here. It's so packed in. They're pressing. Many, many, many people pressing in. And a woman, verse 43, and a woman who was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. Now, I would love to slow down. Remember, it's about feeling this story. I heard a preacher just this past week on this story in particular. And he was talking about empathizing with the woman, and he was trying to put it in a way that could potentially help us. And I thought, man, that's a really good way to put it. But he was saying, imagine if you had a gash on your inner thigh, and no matter what you do, it will not stop bleeding. And then couple that with, now in that culture, blood made you unclean. The exposure of blood made you unclean. And so what unclean meant is that now you were ceremonially unclean, meant that you couldn't be around people, you couldn't be in contact with people, you couldn't go to the temple and worship. And so now you were essentially ostracized from your community, from your people, from your why, because you had this bleeding issue that you couldn't stop. But if you imagine a gash on your inner thigh that won't stop, and I understand, like let's not dumb down the pain that this lady's experiencing, because this is internal. This is something she can't control. She can't even see. But for 12 years, it's dominated her life. And the idea of that gash on your leg, you wrap it in gauze. How long does it take before the blood gets through the gauze? And so now your entire 12 years of your life, you're going place to place to place to place, and you're timing, how long do I have before this thing bleeds through and everybody knows, and now I'm going to be shamed publicly for being in the spaces I shouldn't be. That I have just this many hours to be able to do what I need to do. That is this woman's experience. That is her life. I think it's fascinating that the girl who's dying is 12 years old. We would all go, that's too young, too soon. And for this lady, she's been bleeding for 12 years, and we go, that's too long. Isn't it fascinating, our view on time? I wonder this, that how many of you today need to just understand that God sees time different? And whatever your journey's been, today's perfect. Today's the day. That today's the day that God's going to do something miraculous in your life. And this moment with this lady and her bleeding, she's in desperation. You can imagine 12 years. And she sees the crowd. And she knows technically she's not supposed to touch him, but she has to get to Jesus. And I wonder, just my imagination, I wonder if she's like scoping out the crowd, like, waiting for my moment. I'm going to get him. And she's down an alleyway because she knows they're going to come down this alleyway, and she's waiting. And as she sees her moment, she begins to press into the crowd. But she's not interested in being in a crowd. She's interested in getting to the person. And so she pushes her way through, and eventually at some point, and I wonder if she was on hands and knees at this point, reaching out as far as she could, and she just touches. Just touches. She doesn't grab. She doesn't hold on to. She doesn't get attention. It's as his cloak goes by, she touches one of the tassels that rabbis would have had on the bottom, it's believed. And it's just a touch. And there's no thunder and lightning. There's no, oh, from the angels. But she knows. Because if you've been bleeding for 12 years, you know when you've been healed. And she knows immediately that touch of Jesus' tassels, his clothing, she's healed. When was the last time you were that desperate for Jesus? When was the last time that you had a holy expectancy of what Jesus could do? No, I mean it. I mean it. Like you woke up today. Here's what's crazy. You woke up today, and it's a Sunday. And if you got kids, they started school already. So your schedule's been a little hectic. You woke up, you're like, we should go to church. And you drove here. Maybe you had a fight on the way. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're just catching your breath on the way here. You get your kids in, or maybe you got through the door because you rushed here and you got to your seat and you sat down and you're like, man, he's already preaching. This doesn't normally happen. What's going on? But what happened to entering the space going, think about it for a second. The creator of the universe, God, in all his majesty, and all his sovereignty, and all his majesticness, if that's a word, he is here today, right now, with you. Like he made you here. God showed up here for you today. And you're going to walk in like, it's another Sunday. Can't wait to get the In-N-Out later. But he's here now for you. And I got to ask you, are you just part of the crowd that's pressing? Or are you the one that's going, I'm so desperate, I need God to show up today? That I'm going to reach out, I'm going to make sure I touch him today. Because I can't leave here the same as I walk through these doors. You see, sometimes I think we forget. We forget how much we need a Savior because we forget how much we're a sinner. Sometimes I think we forget how messed up we really are. We're broken. We are desperate. We need Jesus as much today as ever. But somehow we get in this church world and we go, well, I met Jesus when I was 5. I've been walking with Jesus for a while. I've been in church for 20 years. I've been clean. I don't cuss. I don't hang out with those that do. I don't watch that on TV. And somehow we think we're something. And what Jesus is doing is going, hey, there's so much more that I want to get to. And with this lady, verse 45, who touched me? Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, remember Peter, our last series, always ready to speak up, tell it like it is, Master, the people, in case you hadn't noticed, are crowding and pressing against you. What is he really saying? Jesus, we're in a crowd. What do you mean, who touched you? Jesus, come on, you can't be serious. Imagine you're going along, and all of a sudden Jesus stops and everybody, Why we stop? I don't know. Why we stop? Ask him. And Jesus goes, who's touched me? Are you kidding, Jesus? Are you being serious right now? Who touched you? Well, I could pick about 40 people. And he stays stopped. This is what I love about Jesus. He's not in a rush. We're in a rush. He's not in a rush. Verse 46, but Jesus said, someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me. What is he saying? There's a whole bunch of people that want to press and want to crowd and want to crush me, but only one person deliberately has touched me. I wonder today, are you in the crowd that's just here because it's a crowd and because it seems like the right thing to do, and so you're here and you're pressing in and you're in the crowd? Or are you the one that Jesus is going, but no, someone touched me because I felt power go out? Then the woman seeing that she could not go unnoticed. It got awkward. That's what that's saying. Like if you want a literal translation, it got awkward. Because what happened is Jesus stopped and he made a scene. And this woman who was trying to sneak out the back, like I got what I wanted, Jesus won't let her go. The woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. If you're looking for a title for the sermon because you're the person taking notes, the title is this: what about that? What about that? Because what Jesus just did is he just told the woman, what about that? Oh, I know you came for physical healing, is what Jesus is saying. But there's a whole lot more here that is under the surface that we need to heal. You see, because if you put yourself in the woman's shoes, you realize that what she's been going through is she's been shamed for a long time. And so shame is now a part of her story. The fact that she doesn't feel like she belongs. So every time she goes out, she doesn't belong to anybody. She can't touch anybody. She can't be around anybody. You can imagine the level of unacceptance that comes with that, the feeling of I don't belong anywhere that comes with that, and the amount of guilt that comes with I have to go out because I have to be able to do things. And so now there's this guilt associated with it. In the midst of that, she's in deep pain, and in the midst of it, she's lonely and isolated. And what Jesus does is he goes, what about those things? Because I care about healing those things, not just the physical. He's looking into her soul and going, I know you came for physical healing. I know that's what you think you need, but what you need is a healing of your heart and your soul. And he begins to reach into that. And listen to these words. He says, daughter, daughter. That's a term that's intimate. That's a term that says you belong. That's a term that provides security. That's a term that should drop all association of guilt and shame and unacceptance. Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. You know what the word peace is in the original? It's wholeness. It's completeness. What he's telling her in this moment is, hey, everything that is broken on the inside of you that is creating anxiety, which means to be torn into pieces, everything that is tearing you to pieces, you need to know, I see it, and you are healed. Go in peace. He healed what she didn't know needed to be healed. All of this reminds me of the moon. Which some of you are like, wow, we finally got to the moon. It reminds me of the moon. The moon, as you'll see, you might recognize it because we live in Arizona. Unless you're somewhere on location in Hawaii, I don't know. But in Arizona, something interesting happens. At night, particularly where we live, you can walk outside. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes you walk outside and you catch a glimpse of the moon and you go, wow. Sometimes you will just find me, this is a true story, you'll just find me standing outside in a parking lot like. Because if you have not been shocked by the moon, you have not lived. It's amazing. And for some reason, they feel bigger in Arizona. Like sometimes the size of the moon, I'm like, I got to get a picture with my phone. I take my phone out. And then the picture's this big, right? But did you know that the moon is roughly 239,000 miles away? Here's what's crazy. Your eyeballs can see it. What? And you can see it with better detail than you can capture on a picture. Do you know that the moon is roughly a quarter size of the earth? That the moon actually rotates? But the moon is tidally locked in rotation to the earth, which what that means is that they call it synchronous rotation. And it's when two things are they're in the same orbital, but they're going at the same pace in the period. And so what happens is as they're turning and they rotate around each other, what it means for us on planet Earth is that when we look at the moon, we only ever see one side of the moon. You've never seen the other side of the moon in person from the earth. And some of you are like, John, you're just figuring this out? Well, if you know this and you know how cool this is, you'll never go outside and look at the moon the same again. Because here's what it means, right? That for all of human history, we've looked up into the sky at the moon and we only see one aspect, one piece of it. But what's existed the whole time is this other side, the far side of the moon, the dark side of the moon from us, right? And it wasn't until 1968 when a group of astronauts got onto the Apollo 8 rocket and they took off with a purpose of going around the moon. It would be the first humans that got to see the far side of the moon, the dark side of the moon. And when they took off, they got pictures. They're not very good, so we got some later pictures to show you. But the backside of the moon is fascinating. So on the right, you have the backside of the moon. On this side, that's what we see from our vantage point on the left side. But on the right side, as you look at it, you go, that doesn't look so bad. But what you need to understand is the backside of the moon, the far side of the moon, is pocked by craters. And we don't know if it's been protecting Earth. We don't know how those craters got there, what debris in space has been hitting it. But some of those craters are massive. Some of those craters are 85 miles wide by 30,000 feet deep. And so much so that some of those craters, you could take the Grand Canyon and put them inside of it. And so the backside of the moon has all this damage from impact, external impacts to it. And yet what we see from our side is this glowing, bright moon. And there's a whole nother side that's hidden from us. I wonder how much of us, if not all of us, are just like the moon. Here's what I mean. You come to church and you look real good. You look real good. You do yourself up. Some of you. Just kidding. You roll in. You get asked at the door, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. How are you doing? And yet you got a dark side to your heart. You got a dark side to your moon. And it's tearing you apart. And you won't let anybody see it. You go through your day and you're just fine. And you, over and over and over, know that there's a deep, dark secret in your heart. You need to know that Jesus with this lady goes, what about that? What about the shame, the insecurity, the guilt, the brokenness, the sin, the pain? And what we find with the moon is it wasn't until somebody journeyed to the dark side that the dark side was revealed. And this series is an invitation for you to journey and let Jesus journey with you into the dark side of your moon. If you're here and you go, John, I don't think I got one. I don't think there's a dark side to me. You're a liar. I'm just going to call it out. The reason I know is you're human and you're fallen, which means we got stuff. But it requires that we're willing to journey in and let God go into the deepest parts of our heart. Remember the search me and know me. And I love what happens if we're willing to go on this journey together. Because you know, right? You know, we have all these symptoms in our life of our dark side. You know this, right? Now, how do I know your drinking problem? Your drinking problem isn't really about alcohol. It's about something much deeper in you. And your porn addiction, it's not really about porn. It's about something much deeper inside of you on the dark side of your moon that you're compensating for. And your anger and what's tearing your family apart, the anger isn't really about your family. You know that, right? You're not actually angry at them. You just don't know how to cope with what's happening on the inside of you. And over these next 5 weeks, what we're doing is we're committing as a community to go, we're going to dig into this. We're going to let God do his perfect work. No matter how painful, no matter how far it goes. Why? Because something happens when you journey to the dark side of the moon. Here's what I mean. The story carries on then. You can imagine how Jairus is feeling, right? You know he's there and everybody stops and he's like, hey, but what about my daughter? While Jesus was still speaking, someone came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. Your daughter is dead. He said, don't bother the teacher anymore. Hearing this, Jesus said to Jairus, don't be afraid, just believe and she will be healed. What is Jesus doing? Hey, synagogue leader. Hey, Mr. Religion. Hey, mister, you stand up for a profession and lead a whole bunch of people. What about that? And what is Jairus' that? Hey, Jairus, you think I can heal your sick daughter, but you don't believe, you don't have the belief, you have unbelief now that I can raise her from the dead. Let's deal with your unbelief that's deep in your heart. Let's surface that. And so in this moment now, Jesus is pulled out of Jairus. He goes, hey, we're going to journey to the dark side of your moon where you just lost hope and you don't know who I am. When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he said to him, do not let anyone go in with him except Peter, John, James, and the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, all the people were wailing and mourning for her. Stop wailing, Jesus said. She is not dead, but asleep. They laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. But Jesus took her by the hand and said, my child, get up. Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. Then Jesus told them, give her something to eat. Why? Because when you've been dead, you hungry. Okay? Jesus is giving her food. Why? Because he wants to prove she ain't a ghost. He has brought her back to life. He owns life and death. And in this moment, he's telling her, hey, I am the resurrection and the life. Hey, Jairus, you're over here, Mr. Religion. I want you to see this because we need to deal with your unbelief. So through the circumstances of your daughter, what I'm actually doing is surfacing the unbelief in your heart. Why? Because you need to see me as the resurrection and the life. I can bring back the dead if I want to. He needs to see Jesus for who he is. And I want you to catch what happens then, because he's taken Jairus to the dark side of his moon. Verse 56, her parents were astonished, but he ordered them not to tell anyone what had happened. Her parents were astonished. They were surprised. They had no box to put in what had just happened. They're impressed. And what's beautiful about this moment is it captures for us a truth that when you are willing to go to the dark side of the moon of your soul, when you get to see what God does in that space, you will be astonished and amazed. This was captured for us by the Apollo 8 crew. So the first humans that journey up. By the way, God saw it all the time. God sees the dark side of you all the time. But those first astronauts that were able to go up and go around the moon, and they see the dark side of the moon, right? And as they see it on the way back, they were invited to address the nation. It was Christmas Eve. And so from their spaceship, they record a message that goes back to, or they broadcast a message that goes back to Earth. But it's not just for a nation. This is for an entire humanity because everybody was tuned in at this point. And what they had to say after seeing the dark side of the moon, you can hear their astonishment here. Take a listen.
We are now approaching lunar sunrise, and for all the people back on Earth, the crew of Apollo 8 has a message that we would like to send to you. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and divided the light from the darkness.
Saw the dark side of the moon, and the message they had to send back to humanity was, don't miss the Creator. Don't miss wow God. They didn't have anything to say of themselves other than let us read you scripture on who God is. Wait, they traveled how far? How many days? How many miles? How many bad meals? And they saw the other side of the moon, and on the way back, all they can talk about is God, the Creator, and the majesty. And I wonder, church, if God doesn't want you to see him in a whole new way today. I wonder if God doesn't want to reach into the dark side of you today and surface some things. I believe he does. I believe you were created for intimacy with God Almighty. And I believe that intimacy is allowing him, he already sees it. But it's the invitation. Would you search me and know me, O God? Last month, it was about just over a month ago, I got a call from my mom. And it was 6 a.m. in the morning, roughly, on Monday morning. You got a call from your mama at 6 a.m., it's never good. Not at my age. And she said, I need to tell you that your dad's in the hospital. She said he's in the ER and he's had a stroke. I said, well, how bad is it? She says, we don't know yet. We're waiting to get news. And I said, okay, I'll be over as soon as I can. And so I ended up at the hospital, and sure enough, my dad's in a room at that point, and I walk in, and he's lost all mobility on his right side. Fine the day before, he was in church, just like you, the day before. And he was actually teaching and leading people, and the next morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, we think it happened. And here he is, lost complete control of his right side. And sitting in that room, and through that first day especially, was God's grace, and that my dad was like a happy drunk. And what I mean by that, he was like a click behind the conversation, and his words were slurred. So whatever he said was funny because he was behind the beat, you know what I mean? And that humor helped us get through that first day because we just didn't know what this meant. And so then we come to realize it's pretty severe and it's going to take him time to recover. And I started to notice a pattern in me. My sister came in from out of town, and I started to notice a pattern in me that seemed unhealthy. And it went like this: I just want to be helpful. I just want to serve my mom. I just want to, and I kept interjecting myself into, can I help you make plans? Can I help you work through stuff? And every time I would get shut down. No, we got this. We're good. We got this. And I started to notice that there was this pain associated to the rejection. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I went and, it was a week ago, Thursday, I think it was. I went and sat with my counselor. And I began to unpack just what had happened over the past month. And I just, as I sat there unpacking it, I just felt God using this beautiful person in my life to begin to put words and explanation to what's going on with the pain and with the desires that I have. And she began to tell me a story. And she said it's taken from Brennan Manning's Abba's Child, and there's a station wagon going along the road. And the family's in the station wagon, and the car slows down just enough to open a door and kick the dog out. And then the door closes, the station wagon continues, the dog jumps up and begins to chase. And she said, "You're chasing the car." And all of a sudden, over the last week, as I begin to unpack that, what I've noticed in me is something that started 38 years ago. And 38 years ago, there was a moment in my life. And since that moment, I can document through my life being a teenager and stealing stuff with my friends. Why? Because I need to be wanted. I need to be accepted. And a little later, heading into a porn addiction. It wasn't about porn. It was about my need to be wanted, my need to be accepted. And as I got a little older and now I've got a drinking problem. My drinking problem wasn't about the alcohol. It was about the acceptance and family and community that drinking created for me. And so now what started out of this unhealthy wanting to be wanted grew into this problem I couldn't handle anymore. And then God sets me free from that, and I get married, and I take all of that into marriage. And guess what I start to put on my wife? That she has to want me and accept me. Why? Because I'm trying to compensate for what's way back here. And all of a sudden, I go through all the years leading up to today, and I can see where my anger wasn't about anger. It was about this moment that I felt like this 9-year-old boy back here that's been abandoned. And I'm longing to be wanted. And all of a sudden I'm going, you know, I know this series is coming, and I'm like, God, I got a dark side to my moon. And it's not easy and it's painful. But you need to know something today. That God has met me every step of that journey. And he's been faithful. Which gives me the confidence to stand here and go, if you will be willing, God will be faithful to you too. And as I progress forward, God has given me a beautiful healing that's coming. And I think for you, the longing of the dark side of the moon is, y'all, we all got stuff. Let's deal with our stuff and let Jesus heal us. But it starts with invitation. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Can Jesus have the dark side of your heart today? Will you let him? So I'm going to ask you to do something. If you're new to church, I promise we're not going to do anything weird. I promise. But for privacy and intimacy, because this moment is painful. This moment is yours. It's not anybody else's. This moment is yours to step into the light and go, I know I got stuff that I've been hiding. Or maybe you're in the room and you go, I don't know if I have stuff. But I want Jesus to have access if I do. Then I'm going to ask you to bow your heads and close your eyes across all locations. And when we do this, some of you are cheaters. Please don't cheat this morning. Don't stare at your neighbor or look at who's doing what. This is your moment. It's a holy moment. But with your eyes closed and your heads bowed, I want to ask you a question because I want to pray for you specifically today. So wherever you happen to be, whatever location, if you today go, I know I have a dark side that I need to be freed from. I know I have a dark side that I need to journey with Jesus. Then I'm going to ask you in a moment to just raise your hand so I can pray for you. That as we journey together, as we journey through this series, as Jesus journeys with us, as we go as a community, the prayer is that God heals us of what's broken. If you're in the room and you go, man, I don't know if I have a dark side, but I'm inviting Jesus into that space, I'm going to ask you also to raise your hand. So on the count of 3, if you know you got a dark side and you want to deal with it, or if you're in the room and go, I don't know, but I want Jesus to have full access. On the count of 3, I want you to raise your hand and I want to pray over you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you. You're in good company. There's a lot of hands, a lot of hands. God, we come today. God, we come today as your kids, and that's it. God, we're just your children. We are your sons and we are your daughters. God, I pray over this room. I pray over our other locations. I pray over those that are physically gathered in Prescott Valley, that have responded saying, I have a dark side that I need Jesus today. Jesus, would you be faithful today as they push through that crowd and they get to you? Would you be faithful today to meet them in that space? Would you be faithful to provide what they need? Would you be faithful to expose the dark side of their heart? God, for those in the room that are going, man, I want Jesus, I want intimacy, but I don't know what my dark side is. God, would you use whatever you need to begin to expose it? That over these weeks together as we journey and walk alongside, that God, you would reveal what needs to be healed, just like you asked both of the people in the story, what about that? God, would you expose the dark side of our heart? Would you give us confidence to be honest? Would you give us confidence to let others in? And God, would you be faithful to heal? God, I'm so grateful that in my own life, in my own story, you're a way maker. God, that over the last month, that what I thought was a stroke, that was about my dad, God, you used to expose darkness. Thank you for being a way maker. Thank you for being a miracle worker. Thank you that even though I couldn't see it, you were working. Give us holy trust that in these moments as we worship, God, you and your Spirit is going to do the work that we need. That God, you will expose and you will restore and you will redeem. So God, as we worship, it's out of a grateful heart that we say thank you for the cross. Thank you for dying for us. Thank you for rescuing us. And thank you for securing our eternity. We love you. And everybody said, amen. Church, would you stand? We're going to worship together.
Sing, you are here. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, yes you are, bending every heart. And I worship you. Oh, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. How we need you, Jesus. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. That is who you are, and that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, the Spirit of the Lord is here. Come on, with confidence we sing, even when I don't see it. Even when I don't see it, your word stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. Always faithful, always good. Come on, church. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are the waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Always, always. Yes, that is who you are. And that is who you are. Jesus, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. Yeah. It's who you are. We cannot deny it. Sing, I surrender all. And I surrender all. Oh, I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. Sing that again. I surrender all to you, Jesus. I surrender everything that I am, all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender. Oh, I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. Sing all to thee. All to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender. One last time, all to thee. And all to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender. Church, can we just thank him for what he's doing today? We're going to sing one more song. Come on and join us.
Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Yes, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am your child, God. We are your children, Lord. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Yes, I am who you say I am. The Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I
Church, you can go ahead and have a seat for a moment. But who the Son sets free is free completely. Like there's nothing left out. And the invitation today is to let Jesus into those spaces that you're still holding on to, that you haven't recognized that freedom bought with the cross. And when we contemplate that our entire life is free, It opens us up in ways to step in and love and serve others in ways we just never would have thought. And one of those opportunities we have is that God trusts us with finances. He trusts us that if he gives it to you, you'll get it to them. And then he'll do it all over again. And so in this room, we have moments where we get to lean into, hey, there are ways to give. And you just need to know, when you see ways to give, this is stepping into the kingdom as a whole and going, what you're experiencing today, we want to see over and over and over, not only in this space, but many, many others. And I'll be a part of kingdom work. I'll step into that. And so ways to give there. Something else I need to let you know about. There is a trip February 2023. There's a trip to Israel. And you need to know that if you want to go, or if that's on your list to go, Pastor Kyle's going, I'm on that trip, and it's going to be an amazing time, and you can step into that. One of the ways you do that today is on your way out. There's a table out there. Leah, who has been multiple times, can give you way more information than I can. But what I was told to tell you, spaces are limited. You can sign up, but once it's full, there's a wait list that's created. So if that's your thing, if you're like, man, I'd love to go to Israel, I'd love to see all of the spaces we talk about in Scripture, that trip's for you. It's out there. You're welcome to join in on that. Another thing I need to let you know about, especially today, is I need you to start praying. That if you are isolated, meaning you don't have community around you, this is fine, y'all. But it's way better when we get in a circle and we're heart to heart, and we call those life groups, where we get to sit and walk with people and carry each other's burdens. And so sign-ups for those are next week. But here's what I know. The enemy will do everything he can to make you not sign up. And so you got to fight that this week. You got to pray about it. If you're sitting here and you go, man, God's revealed some stuff on the dark side, you just need to know that life groups is a way that you're able to step in with others and work through what God's doing. And so sign-ups are next week for that. Another thing I want you to know about is if you are here, often we jump up and rush out of this space. There's no rushing today. If you want to hang out, if you need more time, the team's here. You're welcome to stay as long as you need. Along with that, we will have people down the front that want to pray. So if you're here and you go, I need somebody to pray with me today, we have people in place to do that today. Also, if this isn't your thing, because this is scary, coming down the front on your way out, there's yellow lanyards. If you see somebody with a yellow lanyard, that's them telling you, I want to pray for you. And so you just grab them and say, hey, can we pray real quick? And they'll pray over you and whatever's going on. But you just need to know we love you. This is week 1. This is week 1. We got 4 weeks to come. Don't panic. Don't panic if you're here and you go, okay, God's on earth stuff. What do I do now? We'll walk through that together. We'll have some real practical ways to walk through that. And one of those, obviously, is you can pray today. But as the weeks progress, we'll do it together. And so you just need to know, as always, you are loved today. Heaven loves you. God loves you very, very much. And man, we're along for the ride. We love you too. Have an amazing rest of your day, church.
And welcome back here to Heights Online as we wrap up an awesome day here at Heights Church. I'm Owen, one of the pastors here for Heights. I got a sidekick with me today. Introduce her.
Hi, I'm Athena.
This is Athena. She's here. She's got a question for John about his message today, so hang on to the question. And if you have a question for John or a comment you'd like to throw out here, drop it in the chat. We'll be looking for those here in just a minute. Want to know your thoughts here as we begin a brand new sermon series called Dark Side of the Moon. What do you think? What do you think about this idea of having a dark side, and that being the place where Jesus wants to enter in and bring healing and love to us? It's incredible. Okay, so by the way, just so you know who we are as a church, if you're just joining us, we're Heights Church. We're out in Prescott, Arizona. You can find more about us on our website, heightschurch.com. And when you go to heightschurch.com, tap Heights Online. And then from there, you can jump into all kinds of ways to connect. I know we had folks in the chat here as the message was wrapping up, and John was asking for those hands to go up. If you've got something, you're one of those people, or you have something that's a little too private to share in the chat, or you would like someone to jump in and follow up with you, we're happy to do that. The best way to do it is just to go to, again, heightschurch.com on our website, and then from there you can ask for someone to pray with you, and that's how we can kind of reach out and take this conversation into a little more private space and walk through with you. So, all right, so Athena, we're going to have, I think John's going to jump in here in a minute and join us, but I'm curious, like, your reactions to just this message today and this idea about how we have a dark side that we actually need to kind of like let that dark side show.
I feel like we all have mistakes and we all shouldn't be afraid to ask for help, because if you just keep on bearing and bearing and bearing and bearing your whatever it is,
Yep.
it will just start eating you, and then you would just like become, how should I say this?
How do you want to say it?
You would just become really depressed, and it's really hard to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
So just don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we all are learning about that. We were just talking before we came on how,
Yeah.
like, none of us is perfect, but we all feel like we want to put out that front, like the moon. We only show the one side and not the dark side, right? Why do you think that is? I mean, from your point of view, what are your thoughts?
I feel like we hide the dark side of our moon, because if we ever like let someone else see it, then you feel like they won't love you anymore, and you'd feel sad, and that's as far as I can say it. But if you just be real and show all of you, then everyone should love the full moon of you.
Yeah, like the real you, both
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like for me, like I feel the most alone and isolated when I'm not letting people see my real self, and so then I put out that front, and then everybody, even if they like that front, if it's like,
Yeah.
hey, he's a nice guy, I like him, or at the end, like, hey, you're nice, I like you, you're great, but like you feel like alone because you feel like, man, no one knows me, and no one loves me for who I am, right? Do you think that's true?
Yeah. And like this past month, I've been struggling with a bunch of stuff. And that's because I've been bearing and bearing and bearing all of my stuff. And I haven't been true to who my family is, that I really love, and just to everyone. And so just don't be afraid to ask for help and show who you truly are, because people would love all of you. People don't like pretenders.
Yeah, and that's something we get John. He's back here. Can you guys see him? He's right behind that plant right there. He's going to be here in just a second. But he's hiding behind the plant. Elkie says in the chat, she's like, best advice ever, Athena. And Lori TK saying hello to you too. So yeah,
Thank you, Elkie.
that's the best. So I think that this whole idea of like showing our true selves and then knowing, like, allowing God to like love us through that.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think for you personally? I mean, what stands in the way of that for you? Like just your own self, just one person.
Just like, I feel like if I just show my fake self, then people would like that, and then they would take that bait. But if people find the true me, then they won't like me anymore.
Yeah. Do you think that's true? I mean, what do you think?
I did for a long time.
Yeah. That's fair. That feels like that's true because all of us have such a hard time showing that, like, the imperfections, that dark
Yeah.
side of the moon that's got all those craters and all, it's like the ugly side.
Yeah.
And because all of us struggle to show that, it's like when one of us gets brave and shows it, we feel like, oh man, like we're really exposed. Like,
Yeah.
it's like we feel almost kind of like naked in a weird way, right? You're like,
I feel
"Oh,
like
I'm
Adam
here."
and Eve when they finally ate the fruit from the tree.
Exactly. Then they go hide. right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're like, why didn't you tell us we were naked, Jesus?
Exactly. Well, that's one of the things we were talking about today. Coming up next week, just letting you guys know as we get John on here in a second, we have life group sign up coming up next weekend. And I mean, one of the best and simplest ways that we can like open ourselves up and let others see the dark side and start to find healing in that dark side. It really comes with having some people in your life that know you really well, like, and know you as you are.
Yeah.
And so, so if you're out there online, even though, you know, you may be somebody that like weekends are not the right time, like you work or your schedule doesn't line up, that's okay. Life groups meet all throughout the week. So go next week, check out our website next weekend, go to heightschurch.com, look for life groups. And we got life groups all over the Quad City area. There's a perfect group for you. And I just want to encourage you, like Athena's been saying here, like you got to let that dark side show. Doesn't mean you want to stay there and everything. It's like you just let it show and be who you are and then let healing come through that. And a life group is a great way to do that. And even though it's hard, it's tough to like let that side show, right?
Yeah. And if like you should show it little by little by little until it's fully shown, because if you just show it all at once, then it'll be really overwhelming.
Yeah. Just a little bit at a time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've been taking some steps yourself, like literally like this week to do that a little bit. What would you recommend to someone that's like saying, hey, I do need to let this other side of me show and be the real me? Like any advice you would give to someone?
Just start with the easiest part, as the easiest, if you see what I'm saying, but not as hard.
Yeah.
Don't show it all.
Yeah.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Hey, so we got a little special guest.
I see that. Is
Jumped
this like
in online.
co-host or
This
what?
is co-host. She's been
Okay.
out here riding with me while you were hiding behind the plant. We could see you behind the
British
plant right
accent?
there. We're like, John's hiding.
I got talking to people. I
That's
don't have
awesome.
an accent. I have a southern accent. Where's yours?
Here. Come on.
I may or may not
Just a
have told
little.
Athena that I'd buy her lunch if she got you to break
Not
into
gonna happen.
Just a
into your
little.
English
I
accent.
can't.
There we go.
Oh, come on. That doesn't count. I got to have more than that.
I haven't said I can't. So,
Oh, man. John, good to have you in. We're in the chat visiting with folks. And Athena actually, like, what you were talking about today, Dark Side of the Moon, like, resonated with her in such a way that she actually wanted to ask you a question about what she's facing right now. And so I thought, you know what?
All right.
Athena's awesome, and so let's just have
She is
her.
awesome.
She is awesome.
She's
and just
been
have
awesome for a
her
long time.
jump on and actually.
I'm
so
literally
sh-
chewing gum. I just realized I'm chewing
you're-
gum. Sorry,
Did you chew
everybody.
for the
I'm
whole
chewing gum.
your whole message? You were
no,
just
I put it
chomping.
in after. Well, I won't tell you why. But
Okay, that's
anyway.
fair. That's good. All right, so
Sorry, everybody.
get ready to ask your question, but first in the chat real quick. By the way, if you're in the chat and you want to drop a question or a thought about today's message, now's the time to do that. Kathleen in the chat saying, it's easy to tell that lie to myself that says, nobody suffers from depression or no one else can understand what it means to feel like a great big failure. And it's like, that's exactly right. Diana saying, amazing message for me. I'm very good at only showing or admitting I have a dark side that needs help. And then Peggy says, and Diane, Di H in the chat says the same. She's asking for prayer. So Athena, for you, I mean, we talked a little bit
Are you gonna
offline.
go easy on me or no?
She got a good
How hard's
question.
your questions?
This is
it's pretty deep.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
This is a
All
pretty
right.
deep question. So in fact, that's why I was like, hey, I think we got to get John on here to answer this for himself. So take it away, sis.
So, how would you personally show your dark side of the moon? And why would you show your dark side of the moon?
That's a great question. So first I would encourage to do the journey into the dark side of the moon with Jesus and with others so that you can process it in a way that you can communicate it. Because otherwise what happens is if I'm not ready, so for example, John, 19-year-old John showing up to Bible school, the way that my dark side came out is it was more like trophies.
Yeah.
And so it was more like, hey, let me show you how far into the dark I've been. And it just wasn't healthy. It was all about me. Versus today, like being on stage and it's all about helping others. So if I can be vulnerable and go, hey, this is what's really going on, then what it allows is others to open up and go, hey, this is what's going on with me. So it doesn't mean like in exposing the dark side and you got to be careful, you got to be super wise in how much you give.
Yeah.
So like today, I could have gone further into my story and hurt people, or I could have used it in a way that was trying to leverage something. And so if I'm trying to leverage something for me, then I know I don't need to share that yet. But if it's going to hurt somebody, I don't need to share that yet. But if it's truly, hey, I want to use this to help you, then it's a totally different setting. So if you're gaining something, I would say you're not ready. That was me at 19. I was not ready to talk about it. And so, but I would say just processing and then doing the hard work of asking the Holy Spirit. I mean, this week for me has been a constant conversation. How far do I go? How much do I talk about what I've been through in the last month in a way that helps people and doesn't take a spotlight off of God and put it somewhere it shouldn't be? So,
Yeah, good word. And what's crazy thing is like God in the big picture. It's like the both of the characters that Jesus dealt with in the message today, like Jairus and the woman who was with the bleed.
I cannot get Jairus' name.
He needs
Jairus,
he needs a better
I got
name.
Jairus,
It's fine.
Jairus, like literally, I think in the message, there's all three of those come out.
I don't know how
literally
we're
could
supposed
not
to say
get
it.
his name
I don't know how we're
right.
supposed to say it. I'm gonna call him Dr. J from now on. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I would have
Just
got
done
that sooner.
Yeah. So there you go. But
That's product placement.
there it is.
Just sorry.
We have, speaking of that, someone's asking, is there a series tie-in to Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon? So there's a potential for
that Justin?
It's Justin just
That's
trolling,
amazing.
being a
That's
troll up there.
amazing.
But so we're looking for sponsorships at any point.
Yeah,
Transformers, we're
anything.
looking at you.
Anything we can help
We would
with.
love to pay off Park Collective and do some cool stuff. So we'll be Park Collective / Transformers building. I don't know. Just ideas. I'm just throwing out ideas.
With a big moon on the side of it.
Exactly. We can go there. That's fine.
Is Transformers still a thing? Or did
Yes.
it die? It is?
It is still a thing? Are they
Wow.
still making Transformers movies?
They have a movie. It's like the Bumblebee or something like that.
Wait, is it coming out
Oh,
like
that's right. I saw a preview for that.
Man, they still out there making Transformer movies? Wow. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
In other what I was trying to say was before we got sidetracked is it's crazy how God works. Like we want to give God like the bright side of the moon and then like, oh, hey, use that. But it's actually almost guaranteed like to a person. Like it's the part of us that's the dark side is actually the side, like the big story.
Yeah.
As we find healing and like over time we start, and with all the ups and downs, like in his plan for this, that's the place where he uses us to show who he is to the people around us and also help others. It comes from the wounded places, from the broken places, which is kind of amazing.
And so I was telling the online fam last week, like that book that I got the initial idea out of, Levi's book, his premise is exactly that. So the angle he takes then is within that wounding, within that are actually your greatest potential strengths.
Yeah.
And it's all about how God can use that then for others. So he heals you so that you can tell and help others heal from it's pretty powerful.
That's amazing. You had another kind of question you were thinking. I don't want to put words in your mouth. It was kind of about like you were saying like you've had some like anxiety and stuff that you've been facing, and you kind of wanted to ask John something about that.
Yeah. So, how would you personally,
Okay.
not the pastor, I'm John.
So take my pastor
Hat off.
Yes.
Put on the English accent.
Yes.
And tell us.
Yes.
Not a chance.
Where's the real John? The
Not a chance.
19-year-old John.
Yeah, the real John.
I need the 19-year-old John for this one.
19.
Yes, that
Come.
one.
There it
That
was.
one?
Oh, wait a minute.
And so,
Now I'm on look for lunch. Sorry.
and so, like, 19-year-old John, how would you deal with your anxiety back then? And how would you?
Not good back then, let me tell you. Not the way I would tell my kids to deal with it.
Not good.
Yeah.
Versus now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great question.
Um,
Nice. I love having you here interview. You ask such good questions.
I'm trying to think back to 19, how I handled anxiety. You know, honestly.
Did you even know you had
I think-
anxiety at that point? Like in the work, like,
English.
or were you just?
I don't know if I knew that I had it. I think I masked it with distraction. So I would go play sports hours and hours a day.
Yeah.
I would play video games hours and hours a day. I was a real winner because I got married at 20 and I still played sports and video games a lot. So, you know.
Girls love when they marry a kid. It's
That's
great.
right. Football.
They love when they marry someone that's totally immature.
So
It's
I would
great.
say I think like you said, Owen, I don't know that I would have recognized I had anxiety. And it wasn't talked about like it is today.
Yeah.
But that idea of like the word anxiety in scripture, and we'll get to this in a few weeks, is the splitting into pieces. And so that idea of like being fragmented, I would say 19-year-old John was hiding the fragments and trying to cope. So I would say I was a coper, right? So, the whole, I'll do this because it masks actually dealing with this. And so versus now, I'm like, I know I'm a mess and I'm okay going and sitting with somebody and going, I don't understand this and I can't make sense of this. Or I'm okay going to Owen during the week and being like, dude, today just sucks. Like, I feel like and what helps with anxiety and depression is then because I'm giving a voice to it, it loses its power. Because I'm willing to let others into the journey. And then learning, I would say the difference between me now and then is learning, instead of coping by playing basketball, okay, can I sit down and be thankful, write a gratitude list for what I have? And that just reloads the brain, right? And so now I'm focused on the good and the positive versus going and playing a sport and just being angry. And then kicking somebody, and that makes me feel better. So I think it just changes. And I think because you, like where I'm at now, it's more of a natural, like, I know that's not okay. And I know that has potential to harm everything. And so I got to deal with it. So,
Do you feel like so much of whether it's the enemy, it's our own, like, who we are without Jesus, like that part of us that's still like, just untamed and unreceiving of God's love, like always trying to pull us out of this present moment with God. Like it's either anxiety, which takes us to the future, like potential, it's like what might happen.
Yeah.
Or it's things, whether it's guilt, shame, like that pulls us back to past of like, this has happened. And it's like always like trying to pull us away from this moment, which is the only moment where God and I can be same place, same time.
Well, Well, and you think about it, everything in our world. So I have this I don't think this will ever see the light of day in this series. But that lunar, tidal locked lunar, so the moon only shows you one
Which
side.
that's just nuts how that works. That blows my mind.
So what got me though is that we are tidally locked to our culture. And so what we get from the culture is only one view.
Yeah.
And so like, for example, like social media, it can be amazing in connecting people across distances.
Yeah.
I can see what you're doing in your day. You can see we feel connected.
Yeah.
It can also be the worst thing that ever happened to us because it can create anxiety of, oh my God, look at them. Look what they're on vacation right now. Oh, wow. They went to a nicer beach than us. Wow. I'm really, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, what is happening? But it was all because they invited this to take me out of the moment and put me somewhere else. I was watching a reality show recently with my wife. She watches reality shows, so.
Oh, come on, you watch them. Don't be like that.
I do
you
now.
watch them too.
I do now.
Don't be like, oh, she made me watch it. That's fine.
But what was fascinating is these people are secluded, right?
Yeah.
And one of them, they don't know Jesus, but one of them was going, this feels amazing. Not knowing what other people are doing. Not even knowing what's happening in the news and the world. And it was this moment of like, here's somebody who doesn't even know Jesus going, the system we're in isn't healthy. And so I think, like back to your thing of living in the moment, I think there's so many things around us that if we're not careful, they pull us out intentionally, but we've invited them into that moment.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I know for me personally, like I think about the future a lot, like by default, like that's just how I am. I plan, strategize, think about, I want that future to be how I want it to be. And like, I can live in the future so much that I just don't live here and now. And like, it's just, which again is like, this is the only, now is where God is. Like he's past, present, future. I'm not, though. I'm only here. Everything else is either imagination or my perception about what the past was like. That's like, but I can only be here. And I think it's where God wants us, which includes my brokenness and all, Yeah. Athena, these are great questions for John. Any other questions here? We're about to wrap this thing up. What do you think?
She has way better posture than me. I'm like
Yeah,
sitting
she
here
does.
trying to.
School. 90 degrees, guys.
Wow. All right, looking in the chat one last time, just saying some thanks for John. Amazing, John. Thank you so much needed. And Di H says, we in our humanness are so good at stuffing.
Yes,
Just
we are.
only you guys. I'm fine. Just kidding, of course. Studio saying thank you as well. She says, Pastor John, thanks. You always help me grasp God's love better. She's like, I'm the dog that's still chasing the car. A heartbreaking, eye-opening analogy. Now that I understand, God can heal me. Thank you.
Jeannie, me too. Me too. I'm working through it.
All right, guy. Next week, Dark Side of the Moon continues.
Next week's fun. I mean, next week's
any little. Are we gonna? I don't want to. No spoilers, but.
Bradley Streeter,
Oh, that's right.
and we get to dig into Brad's story, which, if you haven't heard, his last decade is pretty incredible. How God has used pain in his life
That's killer.
for somebody
Yeah.
who's so positive.
Yeah.
But we'll dig into that
All
next
right.
week.
Former worship leader at Heights. He'll be back.
One of my best friends.
Conversation.
So,
I'm looking
super
forward to
stoked.
that.
Yep.
Athena, how did it feel? Out here with
Yeah.
us online?
It
Was it-
felt amazing.
Was it as bad as you thought it would be?
I never thought it was bad.
Okay. Was it okay? I think you did. You crushed it. Thanks for your honesty.
Good job. Nice questions.
Good question. Good
Well done.
questions. All right, gang. With that, we're gonna tie a ribbon on this. Don't forget, you can connect with us beyond this moment. Find us on social. Check out our website, heightschurch.com. Tap Heights Online. We can connect there. The Heights app is just a world of not only past sermons and connections, our calendar, all the things that are coming up, including life group signups next week. If you feel like you need to let that dark side show, life groups is a huge step in to do that, and that's this coming week. So put a reminder on your phone to get yourself in a life group if you're not already.
Did you shout out Nick?
And
Jump in? Okay.
Nick,
Just making sure.
Nick was even fact checking earlier with us, like Googled, because we didn't know where Jaron was, our drummer. So we had Austin Coyne on talking drummers, and he's like, Jaron's out somewhere.
Yeah.
I was like, Purdue, I think it's Indiana.
He's back.
He's back.
He was in PV this weekend.
Oh, awesome. Also,
he's
the
back.
Boilermakers is their mascot for Purdue.
I know.
They out there making boils. I don't know what that's about. Somebody help me figure that out.
Boilers
Oh,
and
last
pasta.
question is somebody interested in signing up for Israel. You can go on our website. Just go Heights Church, look for events. You can sign up there. You can also just send us an email, just hello@heightschurch.com, and we can get you connected with
Yep.
that. Israel's going to be. I mean, Israel's Israel. You'll never read the Bible the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
you have pictures in your mind for all those
I've
places.
never been.
Yeah.
So
You'll figure out where Dr. J
Dr.
lived,
J.
whatever his.
Dr. J.
We'll learn how to pronounce his
I will
name and
learn
see
how
where
to
he
pronounce
lived.
his name, and then I'll be a better preacher. So there you go.
All right, friends. With that, you are so loved. We'll see you next week right here, 10:30 for Heights Online Weekend Countdown. For now, I'm Owen with John and Athena saying thank you. Thanks to Justin upstairs, Nick out there at the keys. We'll see you next time.
Love you
You
guys.
are loved.
Bye.